You're now being recorded.
All right, let me see.
So as you know, Jim and I were the only ones at the US Council.
Well, I wasn't invited. I don't have,
Were you invited? Did you get the invite?
I got the invite.
You could have taken it.
I just wasn't interested. I'm not feeling very sociable.
Oh.
Oh,
Or
seriously.
Joe.
No, I just don't enjoy parties that much.
Much of a party anyway, was it? Just a bunch of bullshit, that's all it was.
Well, once the weather came in, things got a little bit icy.
Well, there's a great picture of you with Jeremy. He's a neat guy. Isn't
He is.
Yeah.
I'm when we can watch. Just like when I was in basic training, watching this other guy.
he? God, you too, then, huh? Walking on, yeah, I was,
1969.
yeah, July 69, I was in Fort Polk. And, I think it was on a weekend and Sparks in the common room, they had a TV going.
Well, they set up bleachers up and they set a little TV about this big.
Yeah. I was teaching at the Aberdeen Proving Ground. And I remember watching it on TV. And then in the evening, the moon walk at the landing.
So this is the goodie bag. Came in this bag here.
There's Montana something on the back.
Yeah. Montana Military Museum. That's the back.
Is that in Lewiston?
No, it's
No. That's what I thought, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's the other one for the first special service board.
Yeah.
Besides Calvary.
And here's the book of reports. And bullshit stuff. This is cheap thing that they've got.
Mhm.
You're not gonna have that cheap.
Hang on to that, you use it for name tag anywhere. But put it in the string.
It's pretty well standard.
Mhm.
The color should change. This up to the chop. Like this off. So you can be the one.
Rosemary tells me I'm some kind of one periodically, but I don't think we're gonna go into detail involved in what kind of one.
Well, you know what be the one is.
Yeah.
That's the new commander, National Commander's pin.
Mhm.
There's another neat pin. Not sure what. It's neat. And
That's usually a memorial type pin. That
Yeah.
shape. There's nothing distinctive for
Yeah.
organization or locale on it. But yeah, that's a neat yellow ribbon equivalent.
you gotta get a stronger Wi-Fi.
Pull the string tighter.
I'm stuck with the connection that my in-laws have out here. It's as good as it gets for now. So once we get our own home in Calgary, then I'll be able to actually get a real internet, a much faster interconnection. That's the problem. I can't really do anything about it. So we're still looking for a house, and someday we'll get one. Once my wife is happy with it.
Good hunting.
Huh?
Move into a trailer.
Yeah, it's just. Yeah, well, we got a great place. I mean, they had this is a really good. I mean, I'm in the basement because it's the best place for an office. But like the kids are all happy, everyone's happy being with grandma. Place to be, but when it comes to stuff like this, it's caused me some angst. All that stuff I was telling you I'm doing on LinkedIn, it gets a little frustrating when
Oh, God.
Did
I'm
you-
losing my internet connection.
Did you
My
listen?
internet
to
connection.
that- Did you listen to that episode of Tango Alpha Lima? They talk a lot
Of
about.
what?
I sent you a link to
The-
Tagma Palima.
Which, let me take a look. I looked at all your stuff, so let me see which one it was you're referring to.
I sent it.
Oh, Mike Quinn. Yeah, I haven't watched it. But
I just listened to it.
I haven't watched it, but I know Mike. Yeah, he's good.
I don't
He's
know if you can watch it.
really
You can
good.
watch it on
He's a
YouTube.
great
So this I got from Bob Newport. I sent him a link about.
Yeah, oh yeah. I know Mike pretty well. So yeah,
Open work.
he is so good at what he does
Anyway,
that
help him. Yeah, what's Jim say?
he now is part of the Army Senior Leader Transition Program. Like when generals and sergeants major get out, and it's not just the Army, it's across the DoD. When these senior leaders are getting out, he's actually addressing them personally as a speaker, because he's just so good. He got out as a sergeant major, an intel guy. He worked at DIA actually, right? So I knew him when he was still wearing the uniform, and a little frustrated with his job searching and how it was going, because he's a rock star. He's a super guy. And you know, for him, it was really frustrating. But once he started hitting his rhythm, he turned that frustration, and he's an amazing guy when it comes to teaching and mentoring. That's kind of his thing. And so he turned that into something much more expansive, where he has now become one of those linchpins in the veterans community in terms specifically in terms of helping veterans leverage LinkedIn to grow networks and start communicating professionally. Very well respected on LinkedIn, and not just by veterans, but by LinkedIn as well. So yeah, he's a good guy. He's a really good guy.
Observation, by the way.
Like I'm pretty tied into that.
Sorry?
I'm pretty tied into the community stuff.
There's a problem with the poll if you're not on LinkedIn, and I have not been for like 10 years.
Yeah, that's I get it. It's intentionally for LinkedIn, because I'm responses on my LinkedIn outreach and they're all interested, so that's a good start. None of them have taken the poll yet. So the reason why I did the poll specifically in LinkedIn is to benefit from the ecosystem. They were already in that ecosystem to some degree. They're active to varying degrees. And since I'm initiating contact in that ecosystem, I need to have content for them so they're not bouncing around platforms. For example, I include a link to the internet site, but they need to be able to do everything in-house because it's convenient, right? They may be on their phone or something like that, things like that.
Jim, what was the name of that guy you were just talking about?
Which guy?
The one you're talking about LinkedIn.
Oh, that Mike Quinn. Yeah, the guy you sent me the link for.
That's the one who's on there.
Yeah, I know him. I know him pretty well from when he was still when he and I both were at the DIA at the same time. So, well, I mean, he was there a lot longer than me. He got out as a sergeant major, so he's, he'd been there for a while.
That was an interesting.
He's a hardcore intel
podcast.
He's great. He really is. He's become a leader. He's become one of the leaders in the veterans community, specifically for his expertise on how to use LinkedIn for finding work, for growing out of veterans network. And veterans are in the top 3 of most active groups and engaged groups on LinkedIn. And that's driven by the U.S. military veterans, 100% driven by the U.S. military. Because of it, it's growing in other militaries as well. But we have a very, very active community on LinkedIn. Very, very active. And I shortchanged myself before on my email. I said I had like 800 connections. No, I have like 3,500 connections on LinkedIn. I've got a lot. people reaching out to me from everywhere. So when you're hiring military for Amazon, they'll find a way to contact you.
Let's do, Rob.
Hey, gentlemen,
Yeah, what's new?
not much. I'm covered in hives today. Like, you might notice I have a bit of a swollen lip, but I'm covered in hives.
Well, stay out of the hive.
What'd you run into?
I
And
don't know.
playing with snakes.
I've got a clue. There's a little ferry going by here today. The seas are rough, so the small ferries come in between the islands. Got a bit of a strong wind today. There's a typhoon somewhere close by.
Where are you?
I'm in the Philippines.
Oh, wow.
But he's coming
Like
back
typhoon,
next
I'm like-
month, right?
My cell coverage must be out. I'm in the Philippines. I lost you guys.
And you're coming back.
No, I hear you.
Yeah, I'm on got a bad signal today. We got a storm brewing here. Typhoon. So how's Stampede week going?
Pretty good.
Yeah.
I've been to two things already, and I got another two things on Saturday. Plus, I'm watching the rodeo and the chuck wagon races on the TV.
Oh yeah. I stopped watching the chuck wagons when they went to 3 wagons.
Yeah, and they're breaking records almost every day.
Are they?
Yeah, they've broken 5 records so far.
Yeah, but that's a smaller truck. They after the floods in I think what year was it? 2013, the floods, they made the truck smaller.
They shortened the track? Are you saying that?
I don't think so, because they put those things around there.
Because it's, well, that's
Still half.
still a half-mile track.
No, it's not.
And this is the
Well,
100th anniversary.
Maybe it is. I can't remember.
100th anniversary of the Chucks and the 100th anniversary of the parade.
Oh yeah. Well, I used to be in both of them all the time. I'm not missing it.
Well, you're gonna be in 2025.
Okay, I got a chuck wagon. We'll bring it down. So what? This member Jim Shaw, I've never met him before.
Well, I'll meet him.
He's right there on the
Huh?
screen.
Where's he at?
Oh, he's in dog pound. I can't you tell
Dog-
it's in the
oh, I-
basement? You know, the only dog pound I heard of is the one my wife put me in, so we're still not sure
That's
about
the
Jim.
dog house.
Oh,
I have friends.
The
I
dog.
have friends in dog pound.
You go to the dog house.
oh.
Oh, we lost you, Jim. Now he's trying to get a different signal.
I got a new dog.
Another one?
What you up to?
Yeah. Well, no, this one. I had one died. I got this one. I had one look like this. She died. But this one here is. This one's cute.
Yeah, it is a little cutie.
Yeah. Gonna take her for shots tomorrow.
You're gonna shoot it
What's going
tomorrow?
on, boys? Tell me what's going on.
Well, I was at the convention a couple of weeks ago, and I just brought all this shit back to show them what kind of a shitty little show they got.
I saw the pictures on your show you put up.
And then there was consulate.
Huh?
Then he was at the consulate.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
me and Jim Shaw were at the consulate for the,
Oh yeah.
I was drinking rocket fuel.
Yeah, I saw the pictures for that too. That might be your last one. Johnny's gonna quit.
Johnny's gone. He said he
He
left
hasn't quit
Friday.
yet. Huh?
He said he left Friday.
No, I'm saying, no, he leaves on the 16th to come here, but I
No,
said
but
he's
he's
gonna
left the
quit his
council.
job. He's quitting his job in February.
No, it's gone.
Huh?
Told me he's gone.
No, I talked to him. I talked to him yesterday. He lands here on the February 16th at like 4 a.m.
So he's still gonna be in town?
He's still in town, yeah, till the
Oh.
16th.
Maybe gone and not at the consulate anymore.
But he's quitting his job at the end in February.
I guess
Come here.
John's not gonna try this tonight. He can't be Stampede.
What's he gonna be doing after he quits the government?
He's moving here.
Gonna retire.
Okay,
He met some girl on a Mormon dating site, and they got engaged in a week, which is his business. I mean, that's whatever
it's
works
his
for
business.
him.
Mhm.
She's got 7 or 8 kids, and he's convinced he's going to live here, and he's going to live in Manila because she's got a job there. Manila is just a shithole. The last place on earth I'd live. But I think he's in for a big shock.
Has he been to the Philippines before?
No, he's never been here. He never deployed here.
Well,
But he's got a
That's me
buddy.
too there.
He's got a buddy that lives right across from me a few miles, maybe 10 miles away. His buddy lives across that island, over that island across the water there. And his buddy was a major in the army as well, and deployed to Afghanistan. And they're the same age. And the guy just had a baby with some 30-year-old girl. So, but apparently the guy's got lots of money. He's a millionaire. But this is the last place you'd want to, this is the last place you'd really want to, unless you had millions of dollars. And even then you wouldn't want to, the healthcare here is terrible. You wouldn't want to be here permanent.
well, my sister lived there for a while, one of my sisters.
Yeah.
I've been all around the Philippines, but never quite got there.
Oh yeah. No, it's there's nice things about it, but the poverty and the government and the whole business acronym here is out the window. There's so much corruption, and it's crazy. It's a crazy place to live. So what's happening? You guys been down the Stampede other than you've been going to your parties?
Nope.
no,
Oh.
all I've done so far is to join, one of the boys and family for, Bonus, parade. And their Stampede, the pancake lunch after the parade on, what was it, Saturday? That's about as far as I've gotten. I don't have a crowd to Stampede with.
You going Saturday? right? Veterans Food Bank?
Yeah,
Okay. You going?
I'm 50-50 right now.
Oh,
I may have to come by myself. But I don't know. my
Cebu,
wife-
leave that cat alone.
Jim's gonna bring his wife out, and I'm gonna bring my wife out.
Well, I think my wife is kind of tied up and she only gets out for half days now. So I give her lots of space.
Jim, can you hear us?
I sure can. I removed the video to hopefully improve my connections. It's so bad,
yeah.
but I can hear you guys fine.
Okay. At least
Yeah,
now we know you're
Valerie's
still alive.
Valerie's planning on coming, so.
Good. So is my Valerie.
Yeah, oh, my Valerie too. As long as there's nothing weird happening with the kids, she's planning on being there, so.
Well, be the one.
Now, wasn't Don saying he was coming out about this time to Calgary?
In, for 2025.
No, I mean, this
Oh,
year, he said
no.
he's gonna make a trip out here.
I haven't
That's what
seen
I
him.
understood.
Then that's my text, so maybe he is. Maybe he's on his way, I don't know. Maybe I'll phone him.
Yeah, Rob, when you come back this year, are you gonna keep the house for next year?
I'll be back in August.
Yeah, here, and then are you gonna keep the house in the Philippines though for next year? Or later?
Well, I
this year?
signed a multi-year lease.
Oh. So I guess the answer is yes.
I'll be here for years.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a nice property. It's just a lot of work because it's been kind
Ian
of
said
left.
you're on your way to Calgary. Are you here? You're not on Zoom. Why?
No, he didn't.
Ian said you come to Calgary.
Yeah,
Sometime.
but he said around the end of Stampede, around, he's planning to be here.
Well, if you drive. Oh, yeah.
Well, then, yeah.
How's Val doing, Jim?
Uh. So.
Yeah.
We went to a company barbecue on, Monday, I think it was, and she was outside for quite a bit of time. And then we're going to another one on Saturday morning, where we live. So she's gonna wanna come in the trailer, and I'm afraid of that. Not because I've got a big mess in there, but because, I don't think she can move around too much in there.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll just have to keep an eye on it. Support the troops.
There you go.
Support the troop magnet disappeared off the door.
Yeah.
Oh, shit, I forgot to bring American.
Mine's broken. See the new card?
No.
Either one.
Yeah, I'm not the other contribute, I'm not Stampede. And I'm not terribly active, but I think that family gets to the museum.
Say hello.
Well, I've been following it up like Jim at night when they do the repeat, without the intermissions. And I got some pretty good athletes there this year. Some was riding. My wife's favorite is the pony race.
Oh, yeah.
That is.
Did you see that today or yesterday?
Yesterday, I
Oh.
seen today.
All over his
Oh
face.
my God.
Thank God he was wearing
He
that.
had
hat.
10 pounds of mud.
That was good.
He's kind of blind. He got up, and then the other guy said, "Hey, I still got the horse. Come here." And he shook it out and ran back and grabbed the rope. Oh,
And the announcer was saying that they should have had more water on the track to be nice and muddy.
oh yeah,
That one kid got dragged about 100
Yeah.
feet.
yeah.
Or
And then
illegal.
the other day, that one kid got dragged further than that, and then as they came back near the what, he's holding on to one rope and waving with the other hand. Those kids are something else.
So what, have you got your ticket yet, Rob?
Huh?
Have you got your ticket yet?
No. I got a bunch of things I gotta do here before I book a ticket.
Jim, did you get to print off your card? Jim,
My card,
yeah,
my, no, I haven't printed it out. I have it though. But I didn't print it.
or your 2023 card?
Yeah, the membership card. Yep, I have it. Thanks. I downloaded it as well just to be safe. But yeah, if at some point I'll need it, I guess. But I haven't bothered to print it out yet. I don't need to put any more in my wallet. I tried to keep it combat light, you know.
I got two wallets, a US wallet and a Canadian wallet.
Well, I definitely don't need more than one. One works for me just fine. I'm kind of a Nazi about my wallet and keeping it light. I don't like stuff in it. So, yeah, if I don't use the card or whatever, at least several times a week, it's history. I get it out.
I just carry a business, I don't carry a wallet anymore. I just carry a business card folder and it holds all my.
You ain't got
credit
no
cards.
pockets, that's why.
Well, I'm like,
Hey, what was with that
I'm
picture
like-
of that bathtub?
travel like,
Rob,
yeah,
what was that picture of that bathtub?
I don't know how that got there. I gotta change one of the bathtubs here. I sent it to the hardware store. I don't know how it got on there, on yours.
Because you put it there.
Well, I don't know, maybe accidentally. I've had to change a jacuzzi tub. I gotta change a bathtub. I got a whole bunch of things I gotta change here.
Well, I don't think we got much else to do around here. You saw all this shit.
Yeah.
Okay. So what we're gonna have to do sometime next year is figure out what we're gonna put in the package. Remember what we had in our last one? We had that nice little clock. And we probably gotta get a new, and we also had a pin. So those things are probably.
Yeah, the hands across the room. Yeah.
And I was talking with, if I told you, I was talking with Andre Chabot, and he's saying that the city has something that they give us up to $5,000. So I'm gonna talk with the dementia people and see if they have anything.
We need to find out what the stated purposes and the allowable uses are for those two. Where we think we're good on something and step in something.
Yeah, no,
I don't trust misunderstanding.
He's gonna send me the information, but yeah, go back. I'll see him again and ask him.
Yeah. Is he gonna be at the vets on Saturday?
I don't know. Not his work,
No, true.
just outside. of the tree.
And again, does he have any connection with the military or the veterans specifically? Or is it just we've contacted him?
Who,
Chabot.
I'll see him probably Saturday morning. He'll probably be at the breakfast. And I think, redheaded. One of the- they're people. No, it's me.
Where are you going? You better not go back.
He'll probably be there too. But I know we'll have some politicians there. So,
What time is the boat from us? It's earlier in the day, isn't it? 'Cause I went last year.
11 to 4 or something like that. isn't it?
I've got 12 to 4, but
Well, okay, could be. I just don't remember.
yeah, 12 to 4. This picture got so many likes. You can't understand. It got over 85 likes.
You look like you belong here.
Yeah, you look like you're,
It must have.
you're almost a Lanny McDonald showing up at the rodeo. He shows up everywhere.
He wasn't at the council this year.
No?
I'm too busy with the thing.
Yeah, I lost it for a month.
Yeah. It sounds like we don't have an awful lot to catch up on here.
Which is quite all right with me because I gotta get up and go to work in the morning.
Yeah.
If you want, I can give you a quick brief update on where I'm at. Won't take more than 5 minutes or so.
Okay.
Okay, can you go for it?
And I can give a little more information. So it looks like I'm able to contact more people than I initially thought, but still not anywhere close to the 120 something odd people. So I've contacted just over 40. I was selective about who I picked. So, I was focusing on getting a little bit of diversity, pretty much focused on people that serve no later than the 80s. To try and bring in a younger crowd. So generally people younger than me in a lot of ways, in some cases, in most cases, actually. I kind of use myself as the benchmark for, trying to find people younger than me.
Yeah.
We have quite a few of those. And, I wanted to look at people that could in different ways. Everyone can offer something, but for something we're trying to start and grow, including our digital footprint, especially things like LinkedIn and getting the page. The page is actually really informative, but it could be kind of updated and streamlined a little bit. Stuff like that. I wanted people that could be able to do that as well. So I was a little bit task focused as well on certain kinds of people that I would try to get in, just considering my limited initial ability to do outreach. But I will continue doing outreach separately since I have all their names now and their information. So this is just what I'm doing on LinkedIn using my kind of a templated. So what I did is I told them, hey, you did a really brief introduction. Said, hey, take a look at what we're trying to do. And I gave them links to the webpage, links to our LinkedIn page. I also invited them to come out to the barbecue on the 15th. I confirmed with the association. I called them up and they confirmed that it's not necessary to RSVP, although they prefer it. So I encourage everyone, if they do come, to RSVP, but said come on down anyways. And I gave them the information. So all that stuff, and I also pointed them to the poll. And all that stuff was included in the initial outreach email. So I've gotten 5 responses back, and they've all been positive so far. One of them was already a member, so I missed that one completely. So, but he was happy to be contacted nonetheless. I think it's Brian King. Does that name ring a bell?
Yeah, he's a member.
Yeah, so I said, oh, okay, well. But the rest were not. Actually, I seemed to be hitting the guys that responded all traveling this weekend, but they were definitely interested, and both of them were younger. Both of them were former enlisted. Actually, 3 of them, they were former enlisted, younger, but all seemingly doing well. One's running his own company in Calgary, and another one's like a senior VP, and I forget the other guy did. So it's a good start. I'd sent the messages out yesterday and today. So I, waited over the weekend, and then I sent everything out. I'm going to start adding more content to the LinkedIn page. I'm going to focus kind of exclusively on that. And the reason why is, as I've mentioned before, it's the ecosphere, the ecosystem that they're already operating in that I'm contacting them in. So it's easier to keep them and get them engaged without having to force them across to a different platform, like an internet website or things like that. Plus, there's less content. Like the internet site has a lot of information. This one's going to be less information on LinkedIn, but more tailored. And as I start adding some different things to it, what I'm trying to orient on more is kind of the VSO aspect of what we can provide. And really what we can provide right now is not very much, but it's going to grow. It'll grow, one, because I'll pull people into it who want to be a part of that. And that by default will add capabilities to what we can offer. And, you know, and I'm going to start bringing some other things into it to play. Try to bring in some of the other people that I know outside of Calgary that are part of the VSO community and make those part of our at-large community. So stuff like that. Essentially, I want our post to get sucked to kind of join and glom on to the larger VSO veterans community that's in LinkedIn. Because for people that are here, that are kind of been separated from that world for a bit now, unlike you guys, you know, most of these other people probably have sort of left it to some degree. This will show that we're not just kind of like alone and afraid of the wilderness, but we're a part of something that's a fairly large movement. And anyone, if they haven't been seeing it on LinkedIn, once they start visiting our site and they start seeing things, and that starts to populate their news feed, they're going to start seeing a lot more, and it will have an impact over time. So, for example, if I have several people who have already connected with me from the invitations, and if they've connected with me, that means they're going to start seeing things that I comment on or things that pop in my feed for the most part, because it auto follows me. And so you're going to, you know, start seeing more of my posts that are going to be veterans centric, and it will populate their newsfeed as well. And so it's kind of an amplifying, sort of like that, you know, you drop a rock in the water and the waves amplify.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of my intent. It'll take a little bit of time to do it. I've only got less than 2 weeks left on this LinkedIn recruiter. So I'm trying to do everything I can right now. I can only do so much outreach on it, but what I am doing is I'm continuing my research and to draw more lists. I think I sent out an updated list of people. There were only like one or two you guys gave me like Lethbridge, and there was another area you gave me to look at. I forget the name, but there was like 2 or 3 people max, I think. And the funny thing is, those areas both have American Legion baseball teams. Do you guys have any involvement with that at all? Or were you even aware? Like Calgary has an American Legion baseball team as well.
Baseball.
But
involvement with
like,
No, not
Okay,
direct,
that's what?
no, but we can always do it.
But no,
Yeah.
We have 2 teams in Lethbridge.
well, it's
Vulcan.
very.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like it's secondary to the vet. So
You're quiet.
I was just curious. It's ancillary, right? I think for us, the best bet right now is to have a laser focused bet. There's about 5 or 6 Legion baseball teams in the area, but those be a venue in the future to look at, not to at least tie ourselves into that, because that'll give us a larger civic engagement.
There's also an
helpful.
American Boy Scout troop in town.
Oh, is there?
Yeah.
Huh.
So-
That would
I haven't heard anything from them for quite some time, but I know there was.
Who are they sponsored by? The chamber?
Yeah.
Jim, if I heard you right, there's a bunch of baseball teams that are sponsored by the American Legion here in Calgary.
Nothing here in Calgary, no.
There's one brand new since last year. There's a brand new American Legion team, baseball team in Calgary. Yeah, but there's like
There
2 or
is?
3. Yeah, there is one. They just started. They had their first season last year.
If in that case, we got to get out and support them.
Yeah, well, they've been a baseball team for a while. They've been playing in a variety of leagues for quite some time. Last year apparently was their first time, whatever, meeting the requirements, because American Legion baseball is pretty specific to like summertime.
Yeah.
It's like pretty good baseball players too. So
Yeah.
I guess they couldn't make the requirements or whatever it was before, but yeah. So there's like 3 or 4 up in Lethbridge and like a couple of 2 or 3 in like Medicine Hat. So, and then of course the one in Calgary, but that's it. Those are the guys. And it would be a nice thing. Like if I were to, so when you look at what the American Legion does in all the different places in the States, you know, at least just writ large, probably the biggest thing that they do in terms of reaching people is American Legion baseball. But it's also like the one thing that you kind of have to work really hard to make a connection to, you know, like the American Legion's original purpose of vets. So I think it's a great way for us. So if you were to look at short, midterm, and long term, I think getting us involved in American Legion baseball could be a mid or a long term piece, because a lot of times they're looking for like financial support. You know, so for us that could be something, maybe if we can do that down the line. But I think in the initial and in the short term, for us to be able to grow our membership, especially with this younger generation, we got to be laser focused on vet issues that are like hot topics right now. And that's like why I mentioned the VA, VSO accreditation, PACDEC, stuff like that. I'm putting together a short timeline, like a calendar that I'd like to do weekly, but you know, I'm hesitant to put this out because I have such a crappy internet connection. But I wanted to start doing something weekly where people can just dial in. And, you know, things like, you know, I had mentioned some of the transition brief, you know, people are still working and struggling to find what they want to do or moving around, or even working on CVs. I'm happy to do that stuff, even one-on-one. Because like I said, I did a lot of that stuff with Amazon. You know, I can leverage some of my other contacts within the greater VSO community to see if I can get some, like, you know, weekly, somebody would come in and give a brief or whatnot, like how to use LinkedIn to optimize things like that. But there's also stuff like, hey, maybe 2 weeks from now, or a week from now, actually, we need to do it sooner rather than later. I know, run a PACDAT briefing, information brief, to try and at least make sure people are aware of what it is, what it means, what kind of conditions are covered, how do you know, there are some other questions as well. Like there are questions I actually, you know, like, can veterans that are veterans that are in the US, or specifically veterans that are close to or a part of a VA network, they can automatically get the screening that's done for the PACDAC, the medical screening. But there's no provision for veterans that aren't within the VA system. So how do we get the screening done? So stuff like that. For a bunch of these guys that are here, that have been here for maybe a little while, but, you know, are still within my generation, they may not even really be aware of this stuff and tracking it. And they may not even care, right? Because they're like, oh, I'm in Canada, we have healthcare. But it's still stuff, that benefits that they should be getting, right? So things like that would be useful. And I'll send you guys later on tomorrow, probably, or the day after at the latest, kind of my proposed for calendar. So for like things I'm going to want to just run, and they'll be like Zoom based, stuff like that, where people can just dial in. At some point, once I kind of get a house, and I mean, actually in Calgary, then I can transition some of that over to also doing physical events at the post, where people will come in and we can sit down, go and have some of these things that are going to be very contemporary event oriented. And that will help draw more people. It will also allow me to reach out to start pulling in some of these, the guys that are, you know, some of these people that are very, very engaged in certain industries. Maybe they can offer mentorship, you know, because we have, you know, probably like 10 or so, or 12, you know, former kind of young guys, seemingly still, who are still, it looks like they're still kind of looking around and trying to figure out what they want to do, maybe, or maybe
Yeah.
like I saw at least a couple where I'm thinking, oh my goodness, this is what they're doing based off of what they did in the military. They should be doing better than, maybe that's, you never know what the situation is, but so we have people who can kind of help, and all that's going to do is help strengthen our own community here in Calgary. And it will help strengthen the Legion, I think. So I'll send that to you guys in a couple of days or so, at the latest. Sort of it's just my sort of spit in the wall, throwing something up there on just to start putting targets on the board, basically. But it's not just for me. These are targets for people who might be interested. It gives them a focal point. Oh, well, I may not really be that interested in what they're doing, but maybe I'll just join this random guy's video chat and we'll see. Those kinds of things at least get them in the door, and then we can go from there. But that's kind of my alongside the continuing to engage message and try and pull them in via the LinkedIn platform. That's something else I want to do as well, and I'll send you more information on that. Because again, I want them to see the services. I want them to see, because if they go to the website, our page now, they're going to see, okay, we got some veterans oriented things that we're following. There's some comments, there's a poll, but it's not what I would call substantive. And substantive being like, hey, here's what we want to do for you. Here's what we want to offer you. And here's how we want you to be a part of what we're doing. And that's not there yet. And so I didn't want to put that there until I actually had something concrete.
Yeah.
Like dates, things like that.
Yeah.
I haven't been to a Zoom meeting for probably 6 months, but am I understanding that we have a LinkedIn profile now? Is that what the post does?
Yep.
Okay. I'm on LinkedIn.
I will pull you. So that's weird. Yeah, your name didn't pop up, I don't think, on for Calgary under LinkedIn for military.
Well, I didn't post it. I don't post anything about it, my military service on LinkedIn.
That's why. Yeah, you're one of those guys, lurkers.
Well, no, it's just that
I'm kidding. I'm just kidding.
what I'm trying to say is I work in oil and gas.
Yeah, there are going to be quite a few people, and I know this to be this true just from having spent so much time doing this on LinkedIn. There are going to be a lot. I got 123 names, and I would not be surprised if there were over 200 or 300 people on LinkedIn that were former U.S. military living in Calgary.
Well, there's more than that.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, like I said, I mean, I'm not at all. I expect it, but so there are other mechanisms we'll be able to use, and I think word of mouth like this will start to help as we start expanding our networks. So then we start having intersection of different people's networks. So say, for example, like you start following the American Legion post. That's a terrible name, by the way. CN20. We gotta fix that. But anyways, you start following our post page, and all of a sudden, our post page, even if you don't post anything, if you follow our page, our feed will copy into your feed. So anybody that you're connected to LinkedIn will start. If they're following you, so if you connect with somebody on LinkedIn, it automatically makes you follow them. You have to actually unfollow somebody. So if they haven't unfollowed you, anybody that's connected to you will suddenly start seeing American Legion Post 20 or CN20 information popping up on their feed. And that in and of itself is going to help start to, and so guys like you that don't have military actively on, it's still going to have that impact. And so that's what we're trying to do with all these sort of intersecting and concentric networks. We're linking networks together by doing this.
Yeah. What do you do? What do you do in Calgary?
I don't do anything yet. I just moved here.
From where?
So I was at Luxembourg, and I worked for Amazon as the head of their military recruiting program in Europe. Okay. And I left that job a couple of years ago. I was kind of working on some family things. my kids were struggling in school. We were having some like problems like that, and then COVID and all that stuff. So I stepped out. Luckily, I was able to do so. And then about in December of this past year, my wife's grandmother here in Calgary became really sick. She was 97, and my two youngest children had never met her, never physically seen her. And you know, she's in our side of the family, she's the last of the full-blooded Eskimos in our family. So my wife and we all both thought it was really important that they come over to Canada, to Calgary, to see her, because her daughter, my mother-in-law and father-in-law have been in Calgary for like a long time. He's Calgarian. He's from Calgary originally. So my wife brought the kids out here while I was still in Luxembourg. And after about a month here, she decided, you know what? I don't want to come back. We need to stay in Calgary.
So you've been here since.
There's a surprise
So,
to the
yeah,
house.
that stuff that I put on the,
I wasn't able to
Stampede,
come before I
is that
came here.
okay?
So
I don't think. we
say again.
came through.
the stuff that I put on LinkedIn, was that okay?
What's the? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
The stuff that I put on LinkedIn, was that okay?
Yeah, it's fine. I'm going to add to it because what you put on is informative. What I'm going to add
I noticed we got 7 followers yet right now.
Well, I should be a follower, but I can't find it.
to it is
Oh, I sent a link.
it's what I want to, as it is, more details oriented with vets, and make ourselves part of that sort of value add within the VA community, within the veterans community locally. So I'm going to add that in there, kind of like, you know, it's like straight business case, right? I want to throw in at least a couple of our unique selling points, something that's going to make them say, hey, you know, I want to give up my time. Because if we're talking guys younger than me, we're talking obviously, you know, not only are they working and trying to do what they do professionally, but they probably have kids and maybe young kids. And so that's, you know, so anything we ask is going to take away from that time. So we got to make it worth their while. A network is always valuable, but a network's only as valuable as the people that are in it. And so we've got a really good cross section just on LinkedIn that I could find. And again, yeah, I'm totally aware that that's probably way short in terms of who actually is here, but that's fine. The younger generation are actually more. It's more typical to find them including their military service. So, and part of that is because within the Department of Defense now for almost a decade, we've incorporated LinkedIn as part of the transition briefings. So I did a week-long transition course, if you will, and they talked about now that their LinkedIn presentations were kind of junior varsity, to be honest, and they're by people who are just, paid, contractors, but aren't really that knowledgeable on it. But the fact is, at a minimum, the awareness is there. And there are very, very few guys now getting out of the military who don't have a LinkedIn account and who don't self-identify as military in their LinkedIn accounts. It's actually pretty rare nowadays. So we've done a really good job of that. And it, obviously for us, what we're trying to do right now, it really enhances the ability to try and find them. It'll be an older generation where we will find a much smaller representation of, like, this is my military background on LinkedIn. I know it's there, but it is a generational thing for sure.
Yeah, we've lost Rob.
Yeah, and you're gonna lose me too.
He's back.
Yep, I think we just lost Rob.
No, Rob's back.
So, like I said, I'll send you that, and it's not like a lot. It's all stuff that I'm willing to do. That I have to think it through how I want to do it in execution, because once I put it out there, it's out there, And if somebody joins, I've got this dicked up communications problem like I always have right now on internet, and I'm supposed to be running it, then it's a problem. It's going to be a fail from the get-go. So I've got to think about a better way to do it. Maybe I'll just do it and come into the post, and do it from
Well,
the
wonder-
down there where you guys are. At least the connection's stable.
I see you put the Stampede barbecue on.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. So people see it. I want them to, because the people that I'm reaching out to are already looking at the LinkedIn page. If it's empty, well, it doesn't have a whole lot of meaningful stuff yet, but there's stuff there enough to at least kind of get their attention. And because we're doing the barbecue, that's a great opportunity for them. If they want to align two things that might be important to them, Stampede and American military vets, that's a great opportunity to at least make a connection. They're not obligated to be to a meeting. It's not going to be the same thing. It's really like, okay, hey, it was great talking to you. I got a pop smoke. They can do that, and that's cool. And that's a great venue for people to be willing to come out there and do that. So yeah, and there's already some likes that I see popping up on it. So that's pretty good. So people are, and some of the people that are noting this posts and that I like are outside of our network, or they're in my network, but they're outside of Calgary. But that's fine because they got their own veterans and military networks too.
Yeah.
So, I don't expect my 3,700 LinkedIn connections to get engaged on this, but I only need a few, to be honest. It will help. Every little bit will help.
I think one of the roadblocks you're going to find in Calgary, at least, is becoming more. I'll use the word democratic, more like Democrats. During the Iraq War invasion, a lot of people knew that I had a military background, and it kind of worked against me in the industry.
Really?
Yeah.
Sounds
like I worked in downtown Calgary, and of course I supported it. A lot of people like Canada didn't join in that campaign. So I mean,
Well, we need more people to do more things.
huh? And I think what you're going to notice is
You know what?
Calgary's
That doesn't
become a lot
bother me.
more-
That doesn't. To me,
Calgary's
that's
become a lot more left wing over the years.
that's totally fine. That's totally fine, and I'll tell you why I think that. If there's anything I learned, one of the biggest hurdles I had to overcome in Europe was the legacy of history of militaries in specific countries. So, I got this thing from Jeff Bezos that says hire military and you're in charge of it for Europe, so make it happen. And I'm like, Roger that. What do I think? What would that tell you? And anyone, you've all worked in business, right? And so there was a certain level of business buy-in that I actually assumed up front, which obviously turned not to be the case. Like, just because Jeff Bezos says this is what I want to have happen, doesn't mean all the regional directors, the general managers, and everybody on it actually support it. And so I found, for example, a country like Spain has a fairly modern military, very good military. They're part of NATO. They're clearly a democratic country. I didn't expect any problems. But I did. I had some really huge problems internally with senior management, actually, some very, very senior guys, because their parents had been imprisoned under General Franco's dictatorship in Spain. They had a really, really negative opinion of hiring military into their organization. And that's just one. I had examples like that in multiple countries. I'm trying to hire a guy who's dual national French and German into a French location, but his last name is German. They're allies now. They're still this, they're still that, but you'd be surprised. So I ran into a lot of that. And you know, the fact is you have to engage people. You just have to engage them. You have to educate them, and you have to be patient. And I'm okay with that. You know, there were some really, really hard things I had to deal with, all were historical in nature that, you know, they're totally nothing to do with my generation or even your generation.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
What,
It's just something to work through.
I've been out of the country for
Because
7
we're not a
months.
militant organization.
I've been out of the country for 7 months. This last election, did Calgary go and Edmonton pretty much go NDP?
No,
Now, Edmonton 100% and Calgary about 50.
So what I've noticed working downtown Calgary is that the last 20 years, the left-wing attitude has really grown in downtown Calgary.
You know, to me, that's okay.
Probably has a little bit, Rob.
Huh?
You know, I came back here, worked in the oil industry as a recent Vietnam era veteran, fairly recent. I was 78 when they brought me here from Nigeria. And I had no problem all through the oil industry, whatever part. I wore my uniform in Calgary a couple of times. I had no problem. It's just one of those cities that did. But if you were returning from Vietnam and you landed in Oakland, there were people lined up to spit at you, throw rocks at you and everything else.
Been there, done that, dirty t-shirt.
You know, Ian, you and I are old enough to remember the guys that started up the oil patch in Canada were all Americans. And you know, the big multinational American companies sent up officers, retired officers out of the U.S. military to head their corporations in Canada.
That's 100% true, and I have known most of them in my life. They were all well received here by Canadians or anybody else. And there's always that friendly rivalry about, you know, when you get out to the field to do the job, it's too cold for the Americans to stay here all winter, blah, 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 and all that stuff. But other than that, and basically when I worked with Dresser Industries, I was a Canadian manager for one of their divisions. And I was the only American in the company, and they chose me to run it over any Canadians. And I was sitting in Nigeria. The current manager, you know, he had to leave for health reasons, and they didn't have anybody in the mix in the company in Canada at the time. And being a dual national, I did have a Canadian passport, and I was born here. So they offered me the job, and I took it. You know, and you know, at the beginning, there might have been, oh, someone else should have had the job. But we got the team together, and we did a good job, and we grew. I don't know if sometimes if there's another side and we can't get on the same fence, I'll go to another fence. But if they're working for me, they may have to go to a fence they don't like. Because when we're here for the business, here for the company, here for something that's mutually beneficial, what can you do for us that's for the company? Whatever you do in your own time is your own business. And I found Calgary to be like that growing up in it.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. The point I'm trying to make is Calgary's really changed the last 20 years.
You know, to me, that just means we got to find the common alignment, you know, and we're not a military organization in the sense that we're a militant organization, right? I mean, the American Legion is a social organization at its roots. And so we did carrying weapons. So, 4 stories when we're kind of hanging out at the Legion, that's what that's for. But there's so much more that we'll be doing. And, you know, just as an example, the Veteran Food Bank, you know, working with them for the barbecue. That's a non-left, non-right issue. Veteran homelessness, non-left, non-right issue. Employment. These are meaningful, and there's plenty of things that we can find and that we will we will find them where we'll be able to get bipartisan support, no matter who's in power. And it's just, we just have to make sure we don't come off as a militant organization, not a political one at all.
No, I
That's-
agree, but you
That's
guess
the whole
what?
thing about the American
You're
Legion,
probably
it's
talking
non-political.
kind of impulsive what I'm trying to say.
Gentlemen, I hate to say this, but I gotta shut this thing down now. So,
Roger that. I'll send you guys that info on my end.
okay,
Okay,
and I'll see you on Saturday.
Roger that. Okay.
Right.
Rob, we'll see you next month.
Yeah.
Stay safe with the typhoon.
Oh, yeah. they're all the time.
Okay, signing off.
Bye now.
bye.
Take care.
Take care, guys.
Yahoo.